Hi there, this is Mario. Welcome to Coffee Talk. I'm pumped to introduce today's guest, Patryk Konieczniak, a young visionary film director who's blazing his own trail in the industry. What really impresses me about Patryk is his fearlessness in pursuing his creative vision. He's not afraid to take risks, try new things, to push the boundary of what's been done before. And let me tell you, that's not an easy thing to do. So many of us are held back by the fear of failure, the fear of what other people might say. But Patryk, he's got a relentless determination to get things done, to bring his ideas to life no matter what. And to me, that's inspiring. Without further delay, let me introduce you to Patryk. Patryk, how are you?
I'm good.
Pat, can you tell us about what is it that you do? I mean, you are a producer. I met you a while back, but for the people that know, you're a director, film producer. What does that mean?
Okay, I usually do video producing and directing, and I usually combine those things because I run the boutique production company, and it directs on like focused with connection with customer, connection with client, and connections with all the actors and on the set. And I usually make advertisements videos for marketing agencies, and I combine it with social media knowledge. It's just like a whole process.
Okay, thank you so much for the coffee.
Thank you very much for coffee.
You're the best.
Thanks. And I usually do video production combined with directing, and I also have social media skills. I worked for a bit time as a consultant in Meta, and by that I learned how to combine social media knowledge with video production and how to do it well.
Okay, so what you do is you create publicity content.
Yeah, usually.
It's video, audio.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually make some ads. I think that's like main part of my business. But as I said before, I love to do music videos, more artistic things. It just brings me so much joy.
Okay, that is pretty awesome. Pat, how did you get started in the film producing? Is this something that you went to school for? Tell me a little more about what got you into film production.
That's a funny story because when I was a very young child, I don't know, I think 7 years old, I made my first movie. It was I couldn't call it a movie. It was first one. It was like story with blood, and I used ketchup instead of blood, and news from the kids' world or stuff like that. It was just amazing. And later on, I moved on to my passion, which is cooking, and I went to Master Chef Junior at maybe 10 years old. 12 years old. It was an amazing experience, and by that I could see behind of the filmmaking world how it looks and how it just works, and that like inspired me to create something and change to filmmaking. And I started very early teaching about it, editing, doing like small videos, and then somehow moved on to bigger customers, and
okay. So what was it about so you said that you got inspired by the cooking program, this competition. What was it about that just propelled you into it? Was it the cameras? Was it the equipment? Was it the story behind? Is it what was it that?
I think it was the cameras and the equipment and the people there, because there was one guy and he's a producer assistant, and he spent a lot of time with us on the program, and he taught us how to do things, how to be in front of camera. He took us on the set, and it was amazing, huge set at Krakow. And then we recorded MasterChef, and it was just amazing experience to be there and can realistically see all the equipment that I cannot see if I'm not there. And then I could talk with the people, because I was a little curious boy that would ask a lot of questions, and it was just an amazing story.
Okay, cool. So once you got this story, once you got inspired by the MasterChef and all that equipment and the video production, what were some of the steps that you did? What was the first to go thing to learn about film production? What did you know about that time? What is that? What was that transition like? I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
Because for example, when you start to do something new, there's a lot of unknowns, right? There's a lot of learning. So how do you get to that learning?
I think you need just to be curious about the world, and I started myself a lot of questions. How to do it? How to grab a professional camera? How to edit? And by small steps, I I think the most important thing that I was curious. I was curious about what I was doing, how to make movies, how to
Sure.
become a huge director, a huge producer, and I'm still on that way. How to become better, how to just curious, being curious about the world, and usually the films are somehow comment on the world. And when you ask yourself questions, you get to some ideas about your productions, about your movies.
Okay. So how do you get? So what's your favorite part about producing?
Okay, that's a good question. I absolutely love being on filmmaking sets. For me,
Oh, really?
it brings me so much joy to be with my crew and work with them. It just I don't know why, but it brings me so much joy to be on a video set, and also the creative stuff, the creative part that I think about concepts. I talk with clients. That also brings me joy. But being on the filmmaking set, it just I don't know, mind blowing for me.
Wow, that is amazing. So, the way I understand, and the way I see the filmmaking and the part of creativity, right? It's about telling a story.
Yeah.
What's the thought process that you go through when you're in a set or when somebody approaches you and says like, "Hey, I have this idea. What is it that is exciting about you? What process do you go through to tell the stories?" This is for me has been fascinating because I have my own way, but I really like to hear what is it that makes you want to tell the story, or if you think about it, or if they already come with like a prefabricated story that they want to tell, or do you also contribute? Can you talk a little more about that?
Absolutely. I always love to contribute and to somehow part of me becoming that story. And of course, I can take the story from the client and do it like only their way. But I love to bring element of because when the clients hire me, they hire me for myself and the part that I can bring add on to this project. And when I get inspired about inspirations, I watch a lot of movies, I watch a lot of TV series, I watch a lot of photos even. Taking all that stuff into consideration and making something out of it, because our brain works in that kind of way that we have neurons, we collect a lot of stuff, and then
That's
it
true.
comes out something absolutely new. And even personal stories, I often get inspired by the people that surround me. So I think the another important thing is to surround yourself with interesting people that can inspire you, that can help you through the way and give you some stories.
That is really amazing. I think that there are no stories without people in them.
Hmm.
I truly believe in that. Who is somebody who you find inspiring, or somebody that doesn't have to be necessarily like a super mega star, or maybe it is, but someone who inspires you to do the creative work that you do. Do you have any superheroes?
Yeah, this one guy, his name Mario, and it's just amazing. Yeah, you inspire me a lot of by the
Oh,
creative that you're doing. And I have another guy, he's called Matkey. He's a creative director in a huge agency in London. I met him. He's just such an amazing guy. He makes big John Lewis commercials. It was just amazing to hear someone with that kind of much power, creativity, and he told me about how he grew up and what was his way to become that, and slowly getting up and up and up. And he's just an amazing guy. And I love what he does because he always includes the person in this. The story is very important, even is in his huge commercials.
this is so cool. I'm gonna share with you a question that I got in our in from our viewers. Thank you so much for sending the question. And the question that she wanted to ask you is, how do you define creativity?
That's it's a hard question. I think creativity is ability to do something new. It's very hard in the modern world. I think maybe I don't think that, but a lot of people think that everything is invented. You cannot think of something new, and creativity. I think for me is that I can invent something new that no one ever has thought of,
Okay.
and no one has ever made that. And when making a new movie, I always try myself to push out the box and think differently. And for me, that is being creative.
That is amazing. Creating something new. And when you think about creating something new, for me, creativity is also something similar. It's about just letting the uh, letting your instincts, letting all your soul and express it like very honestly. I really admire that for example, nowadays, everything is sort of curated, right? And this is kind of a good segue into my next question regarding how do you balance your creativity, right? This ability to create something new with the work that you already do. Because I imagine that the creativity can be a interesting balance between what you want to do as a creative person and also what pays the bills. So how you deal with that balance?
I think it took me a really long way where I am now. I tried to usually I used to do that I had clients that was only commercial, zero creativity and my own personal projects. And now I try to combine it. And when I take my clients, I only work with clients that I know and that giving me that ability to be creative. I think
Sure.
that's so important that I can have that freedom of being creative, thinking my way, of course of the client way, but the clients trust me, and then the clients want to work with me in that way. And I think that's amazing, the right way to choose clients and working with right people.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really amazing way that you have to kind of balance the creativity with actually what other people are paying you to do. In creating your work, also you are working not by yourself, right? As a producer, you work with others, and how do you find the right people to work with?
It's very hard because usually I don't trust people. I have very, it's very for me hard to trust
Awesome.
people, and I don't know, they're gonna take the material from the camera guy and to editing room, and this is such a long process that the camera guy can, I don't know, do something out of my vision, or maybe he can add something good. But the right people, when I know I found the right people, it's all about connections. My video editing guy is by connection that my friend gave me. My camera guy was a guy who I met at some event. It's just like, it's the work of meeting people and networking. I think that's very important, just to know each other, go outside, tell what you do, and the people, I think, in some way are gonna come to you. Okay, oh, I do makeup, I want to work with you. I think it's very important to meet people, be open, believe in people, and see the potential in a long way.
How do you handle somebody who has all this potential, but that you probably don't get a good buy from? Like, for example, like there are people who are very talented, they are very creative, but they are a little bit difficult to work with. Do you choose to work with those people, or you rather not? What's your approach?
To be honest, I would rather not. I think the film set or like photo shoot set is a family, and the people need to know each other, like each other. I'm not saying to be, best friends all the time, but like each other and enjoy spending time with each other. Because if you're gonna have a bunch of people who don't like each other and they're working together, nothing good is gonna come out of that. Everyone's gonna be pissed, annoyed. Oh, I don't like that guy. The camera guy is, he's not
I
a nice
see.
person or whatever.
That is very amazing. I really like the way you said that. The film producing is kind of like a little family, and so you are. I try to follow you, and I mean, if I didn't get to work with you, I would never get to know you. Looks like, but thankfully we met at that event, and I am so glad that I got to know you. Got to know you through the event, to a coffee event. And that was really amazing for me because I got to spend some time with you and I get to know you. But for example, for me, it's like what the question that I have for you is that if I look at your social media, you wouldn't be that person that is so highly known. You're very like very very personal. I wouldn't say close. How do you go about getting your clients? I mean,
Okay.
it's like, because a lot of people, like, I'm saying it for a reason because, there's a lot of people who are sitting at home probably who are thinking that you need to build this massive following just to get work and all that stuff. How do you, with such a limited, I would call it limited social media presence,
Yeah.
get your clients?
I think that's because there's a lot of people that work in social media. They have huge amounts of followers, and they get some jobs through that. I don't know, by photography. It's not my jam. I do like working with clients based on the networking connections and professional connections, just by meeting them. I don't know, through some friends, meeting them in other ways. Because I think it's only my personal opinion. Maybe for someone else, it can work amazingly. But for me, the connections on Instagram, you c- in my mind, you cannot get big clients on Instagram. You cannot work marketing agency on Instagram because owner of that is not gonna write to me, oh, do you want a job? It's not like that, and I
It
really,
hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. Maybe in the future, but this is true. It's very like easy for me to do Instagram for my clients, for someone who I don't know, maybe I work with. But for myself, I don't know. He blocked in my mind. I don't know what's going on with that. And today we've had a conversation with Hector, and he was like asking me, why not? You that every day. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Well, about that, like a big shout out to Hector. Uh, uh, Hector is a really really amazing guy, and I think that this is what I was speaking to about networking, and I think I do like the idea that you bring about networking, because through networking, and this is the point of this podcast actually, is to create that connection between people whom I know, and I am really a big believer in connectivity, and connectivity leading to meetings with others and conversation, and that conversation leading to amazing ideas, and then eventually amazing projects. I think that if we didn't have a conversation,
Yeah, nothing would happen.
nothing would have happened. And also thanks to coffee, to AM Coffee, by the way. No, just AM Coffee.
Follow him on Insta.
I had to throw in my reclama right there. No, but I was as the other thing that I do with coffee, that's why I'm so invested in creating connections with others. I mean, because I think that the main idea is that people are sitting there at their house, just thinking about what to do, how to do it, and are trying to find a way of how does this other person do it? Because you can find content and knowledge in other places. I mean, how do you find inspiration to get going? Because I bet sometimes it's not that easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy. I imagine myself. It's like I learned somehow on internet. There's this technique of imagine yourself in the point that you want to be. Amazing. Right now on my mind is like Thai hotel luxury vacations, and just imagine yourself in this place. Okay, I'm gonna be there. And what is the way to go there? And okay, if I want to be greatest video producer of advertisement, how I'm gonna go to that, and like imagine yourself in that situation. I don't know, if you want to have your apartment, whatever. Imagine yourself, and how can I get to that? And that really helped me. Just laying in my bed, I was like, oh shit, I don't know, a lot of work. I don't know, the clients are very, I know, annoying. And imagine myself. Okay, I've got to go through this to become that person that I don't know. I imagine myself in the future being.
That's pretty amazing. So you use the power of visualization to sort of
Yeah,
just kind of
absolutely.
get you there. I can tell you one thing that I am very amazed, and something that I admire about you, Pat, is that your ability to get things done when social pressure, right, it gets to you. For example, for me, I'm very outgoing, but I'm also very shy. So for me to do what you do is to go on set and actually get the things that you need to get done, because people are watching or people are listening to you, and it feels kind of strange. How do you come up with that? Like how what would you say is the recipe to overcome like that challenge? Because or is this something that you did naturally?
I think it was learning curve for me, and
Okay,
I think
talk
that
about the learning curve. I'm sorry.
yeah. The most important thing is not to be afraid, not to be shy. It's very hard. Always in my mind, I was taught that by my parents very early in my life, not to be afraid, because no one is gonna think this is embarrassing, this is weird. I was assistant in one photo shoot for Vogue. It was just an amazing experience, and I learned from the photograph there that we went to it was like bar place to sit. Whatever it was, like very old place. It was like concept for the photo shoot, and she told me, because I was there learning and being assistant of her, and she told me no one is gonna think. I know it is embarrassing, and even if people are gonna think, oh, you're too loud. I don't know what you're doing. This photo shoot is ridiculous. Whatever. No one's gonna remember that, and especially you. In my mind, okay, I don't know, start singing on the street, start recording, like, I don't know, very weird movie on the street,
Sure.
and no one is gonna think, oh, this is weird, or if someone is gonna think, I do not care.
That is
Not
true.
caring.
Okay, but so what is really interesting for me to ask you, I really like it that not to be able to care. But how do you train that, right? Is it something that overnight just sort of like you flip a switch and all of a sudden, or do you have to sort of slowly, get through the uncomfortable situation? How do you best train that?
I think baby steps, just starting doing more and more and more, and at some level you will find yourself and realize, oh, I'm this level, I don't feel ashamed, I can do anything. That mindset, I can do anything, and no one is gonna stop me. Just work through it through baby steps. I don't think it's gonna happen overnight, but just have that attitude, and in life is gonna like slowly come into your mindset and be a part of your life that you're not afraid of anything, and you can do anything, and I think that's important.
That is super cool. I remember, for example, when in the event where we were actually, you know, where we met, what what really struck me is that you were able to get into such close proximity with your camera to
Oh
people.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
How do you overcome that? Because for me, that's really like close, and especially in a right?
Yeah,
And
true.
especially with people that in Poland, especially in here in Warsaw, people really value their personal space.
Yeah.
Well, not their personal space, but you're intruding. I think they mind more that you talk to them
Yeah. Sometimes
than
you
they
get
actually you get
yeah,
touched
yeah.
them.
Start a little conversation, or maybe just a throw. Oh, you look amazing. I don't know. Just smile more to make even that small connection. Start a small conversation. Oh, what do you do? Oh, can I record you now? Or I remember. It was a few years ago. This is the point that I started to learn in that. I saw an amazing violinist on the street, and I approached to her, asked them what amazing music, where you land, and what is
I
your
see.
school, and then can I record with you? Can I do? And y- the simplest thing is when I do some big events, when I'm with camera by myself, smile. When you smile at people, everything changes. They don't treat you as a threat. But when someone nice, they're gonna smile to camera. They make a special pose or whatever. Just smile at them.
In Warsaw, it might be different. They might think that you're crazy.
yeah. Yeah,
No,
that's
but I know what you mean. Within the context, within proximity, I think it makes sense, especially when I remember, in the set, you were like really engaging, and it was kind of fun to pick up and engage with the individual. What are the coolest stories that you like telling? What is it for you that's amazing? Like, what's creative to you?
was creative to me.
Yeah.
I think even like taking the camera, I didn't even taking the phone and going out through it. My friend showed me some video from vacation, and they recorded by phone. It was just so amazing to see someone take the phone and try to, even on the small level, I'm not saying the professional level, take the camera and bring it out, do something.
So when you are starting, also not to go full intrusive in people. Also, you
Yeah.
have to kind of respect.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. How do you make sure that people don't feel that you're intruding in their space, especially when you are doing a video that not necessarily has to do with an event, or they don't give you your approval. How do you go through that?
It's a very good question, because it's a very hard process to convince someone to be in there. Because usually when you work in music videos and the person
Sure.
is not a professional, you need to somehow. This is what I do in my photo shoots. Usually the people that come to me photo shoots are not super professional models. I try to bring in them what they like about themselves.
Oh,
I try
see.
to ask them, okay, what do you don't like about themselves? Okay, we're gonna show that a bit much. Oh, I'm saying that's beautiful. Just to make that personal connection. I think that's the absolutely main thing. Make a personal connection. Talk with it. And okay, I don't like my hair. Oh, we're gonna do something with your hair. I don't know, whatever that is. Talk with them. It's like I'm calling this like phototherapy. And just to go through and just to make them like themselves by the photos that I'm doing for them, show them constantly. Do you like it? Or maybe not. Oh, you look amazing in this one. Or, just to be personal with them.
So I guess let me just probably I don't want to
Yeah.
to,
Go
like,
for it.
re-explain, but I think
Trust
that
you,
what
yeah.
you're saying is that you also have to be mindful that you're working with people,
Yeah.
and that the point is to make in order to make a really good set, or in order to make a good make really good content, you also have to have like the buy-in from the individuals. They have to be willing participants, or at least understand that they are not being just kind of used for only content, or they need to understand that they are that they're okay with it.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Just kind of being professional.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
That is super cool. Now, what is it that you are kind of going for, Pat? What is the ideal path for you moving forward?
I think that I would like to stay in the video branch. I don't know if it's gonna be, I don't know, directing. I like what I do this every day. I like it. I think it would be better. I maybe could maybe focus more on the creative stuff. But I think like part of life is not everything that we like, and I see myself maybe traveling around the world and making some. Video content from that for some I don't know TV or like huge YouTube channel, and I love to travel. It's one of my passions. I absolutely adore it to meet other people, getting to try and know the other people's mindset, how they think, what is their view of their
I
life.
see.
It's
So
just
you
amazing.
want to see other perspectives. This is what I see.
Yeah.
So, I think this is what I was talking I mean, we were talking a little bit with Hector about, that the perspective of one culture and of what's fun, what's cool, what's it's also part of the learning curve. I see. For example, for me to have a conversation in Spanish is completely different than the one that I'm having in English, say.
Yeah.
And that's all content. And I imagine that if I was in the States or in Mexico, I would be having a different kind of conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand the context, the drive to look for something that also makes you a better person, I guess, to build you up. Is that more or less what?
Absolutely. It like big- builds up your like wide range of ways to think, ways to like receive the world, and that's very important.
Now I want to move another section of the podcast, which
Go
is
for
like
it.
just challenges. Like, for example, when I met you, and like I said, and we had experiences where people look at you and they say like, this is a very young person. What does he know? So what are some challenges that you face as a very young but also very well? Let's just talk about the challenge that you face, that you personally face, because you said we had this conversation before.
It's sadly it's very often that people look at me and say, "Oh, he's not experienced." And even if I show them, okay, this is my work experience where I worked, this is my I don't know international film awards, they think, no, he's young, and I try to use it as my advantage, and I'm young. I have a lot of knowledge in social media because I raised up in the world of phones, and I can know. And the second one is when I'm young, I think I don't know if it like is correlation to age, but sometimes I try to very push myself out of the box because if you are director for let's say 60 years, okay, the most amazing always are coming up with better stuff, but sometimes you can be a bit stale. And for me, that I'm young and I want to, in the future, of course, explore that to be always creative, fresh, new. It just like gives me that out of box thinking, and try to people show that okay, this is who I am. Don't look at me from my age perspective. Look at me for what person I am. And I think for me, age personally doesn't matter, because it's only a number. It's only a stupid number, and just look at the people. If I don't know, they have 50 years old and they have I don't know amazing experience. They can share a lot of knowledge, but also I don't know, person at 50 years old can have no knowledge, and just look at the people right who they are and not by their age.
So I guess so the challenge is that they do think that you are young, but the biggest I guess the biggest asset that you bring is that you do have a wealth of knowledge, and even though the experience is not lengthy, but it's extremely dense. This is something that I also sort of admire from you, that for example, like when I ask you for advice, you're like your advice comes through and is very 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 helpful, and you have like some of the tools that probably didn't exist before.
Yeah, absolutely.
What other challenges do they face, and how do you beat them? I think it's like your most like personal, not from other perspective, but from your personal perspective that you face, like let's just call it like the personal demons.
Okay, personal demons. The first thing is I absolutely hate, and I really struggle with that. The numbers, I feel they're attacking me. I don't know, they are something kind of, yeah. And when I do agreements for my clients, and it's part of my work,
I see.
I always mix up numbers, and it's it's very hard to me, and I need to focus 100%. It's so hard, and the taxes. Right now, I've been doing this for 2 years. I still don't understand it. I don't know what is the way, because I can write a poem, whatever, but the numbers for me is just like some kind of sick world. So this is the personal challenge, the agreements for the clients and taxes and all that stuff is just like so overwhelming for me.
Well, it's probably like the not so creative part of the job, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
think that really
absolutely-
sucks.
Yeah.
There's something that, there's something I tell Alex is like, my son is, you have to feed the, you have to feel the goose that lays the golden egg.
Yeah.
Taxes, they
That's
might be a
true.
little too much.
Yeah.
I wish they were a little lower, but at least I like to pay my share. But yeah, so I think that's part of the non-creative part. Pat, this has been an amazing conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Do you have a last-minute advice for people who are pursuing a career in filmmaking?
My advice would be, don't get discouraged. You're gonna have to face a lot of obstacles. You need to learn a lot, but don't get discouraged. Don't be afraid. Another thing is, don't be afraid to think different. Always try to think of something out of the box or something that has never been created. You can do it, and just go for it.
Wow, this is really amazing advice. Thank you so much for spending time with me, Pat. It's been an amazing time. Thank you.
Thank you for an amazing conversation. Bye.